On today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we look at the final three games of Ole Miss's season this fall. We look at Ole Miss versus Louisiana Monroe in midweek action, and we talk to our friend Tom Vanderford right here. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, hit subscribe, go and hit the bell so you'll be notified when new videos come up. And of course, upvote the video itself. We will appreciate it. You won't regret it. It will be a lot of fun. It'll be like a cool thing. Also, we have a reader coming up next segment. We're going to tell you why, of additional content you can get at the Locked On Ole Miss feed. So tune in and look for that. So midweek action. Ole Miss took two from Louisiana Monroe. Run ruled them last night. The time before, I think they beat them by 9. So the non-run rule games, they're winning by 9 runs. Now, these aren't top-tier opponents that Ole Miss has been playing, but it's a nice gradual step as they build up. And speaking of which, this weekend, starting tonight, Ole Miss plays Central Florida. This is another step up. And they have a nice pitching staff. We talked to Derek Vandegrift. He told us a little bit about the rotation with Central Florida. But you can catch that on ESPN Plus this weekend. You don't have to pay for a special service. You can just get it on ESPN Plus. But that is not SEC Network Plus. Understand there's a difference between SEC Network Plus and ESPN Plus. They're two different things. Understand that and know that if you do not get ESPN Plus, it's probably because you're not subscribed to ESPN Plus, and you would need to do that. It's only $5 a month, so if you want to pay for the month, you can get it, catch all the non-conference games, and watch it. But people like Southern Miss and all that should appear on that platform moving forward in the non-conference games. So it might be the platform that you can use for baseball moving forward. Just an idea. But one thing that I noticed this week is that we just really hit the baseball right now. And they talk about the speeds of the people throwing the ball. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense, because an 87, 88 mile an hour fastball is easier to hit than a 94. That's no joke. That's the way it is. But in these games like Louisiana Monroe, like I will tell you every single time, they don't matter as a one-off if you were to drop one. Those are built into your schedule if you want to host. If your goal is to host, it is built into your schedule. If your goal is a national seed, every loss this early in the season removes a little bit of that margin of the error as it goes on. If you win these games, all of a sudden you might be able to get a national seed with 18, 19 wins in the SEC. Overall, that's not an extremely dominant conference record. It's a good conference record. But if you struggle in the non-conference, you might need 20 or 21 for that national seed. So this is just to keep the margin for error alive for these guys, and to make it a little bit easier is not the word, but you know what I mean. It's something that makes it a little bit more attainable and allows them to drop games against tough teams, because once we start really playing the SEC schedule, those midweek games are going to become a little bit harder, just for various reasons. You're wasting a lot of energy on the weekend. On a Tuesday night, all of a sudden they might not have your concentration. Now all of a sudden you can reserve that loss for there, and you can have a relatively good non-conference slate. But Kevin Graham and Tim Olko hit grand slams Wednesday night. And I think Elliott pitched well Tuesday. It was just a good situation with Ole Miss baseball this week. They did what they were supposed to do, and there's really no backing out of it. There's no agenda that comes with it. It's just they took care of business. That's the baseline of what's going on. Nobody's saying that the team that appeared is good enough to do whatever they need to do. And we're not saying that. No, they took care of business. They did what they were supposed to do. And against Central Florida, the goal should be 2 of 3. But like I said, if you can get 3-0, every non-conference game you win increases the margin for error for later on in the season. So you got a good team. Central Florida hasn't necessarily played. They've played anybody. They played Georgia Southern. They played North Florida, people like that, and they hammer them a little bit. But we'll see exactly what it looks like when we cruise into Orlando tonight and see how it goes. So should be fairly interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. So March Madness is only a few weeks away, and that's why you need to start thinking now about where you're going to be running your brackets this year. Are you going for the usual, or are you looking for the best? We've done our homework here, and we're running brackets with RunYourPool.com. Along with standard brackets, RunYourPool offers game types like Survivor and Pick X. Pretty fun in their own way. They have options to edit scoring. They offer more intel to make your pick, and all your stuff you won't find at ESPN or CBS. If you got a business, RunYourPool can help you take some of that madness magic and play alongside of your employees or even game customers. Plus, they offer full white glove customer support, custom branding, and one of the easiest 3-minute setups you'll ever find. So clearly we believe in RunYourPool because, like we said, we're running our brackets there ourselves. No truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at a prize, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon, and while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family and enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off that custom pool. All the rules and details will be available there. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win a cash prize. We look forward to seeing and beating you there. This time of year, I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. This year, I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. So have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on some of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All Built Bars are 100% real chocolate. Yes, 100% real chocolate. So go to Built.com, scroll down to the macros chart, and you'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So at Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, and they figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, but make sure you check out the Locked On Bracket Breakdown March 14th right here on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast feed and YouTube channel. College basketball experts Chris Gordy, Andy Patton, and betting expert Lee Sterling gives you inside, in-depth breakdowns on every matchup. That's right here. We're going to have it here. It's going to just pop up, and if you have notifications set up on your YouTube feed, you'll know exactly when it hits. So do us a favor on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and of course upvote the video. You can see it right up there, and they will get you taken care of. So we're doing our way too early pre-spring look at the football season, getting ready for spring practice, and I'm just really excited about what this football team can have. This is going to be the most talented team that Ole Miss has potentially ever had on campus. It's going to be one that if you look at the schedule and if you do not have an agenda and look down, there's not a game on the schedule that Ole Miss can't win. Not one. At worst is a toss-up. And there's a few toss-ups. We told you about that, the A&M, the Auburn game, even somebody like LSU. We told you how and why Ole Miss could lose those games. But it's not going to be because of talent, because if Ole Miss plays their A game and the other team plays their A game, Ole Miss is going to win the game, which is absolutely weird to think about. But that's exactly the point we're at this moment. Now, we start looking at November. And November's 2 out of 3 at home. A hectic slate where we play against Alabama, have Arkansas, and then play Mississippi State. Alabama, I think, is the game of the year. That is the target. That is the game that Lane Kiffin is going to circle on his calendar, on his schedule. It's like, okay, that's the one I want. He wants to beat Nick Saban. It's just a competitive juices thing. And he's thinking he has talent that's developed to the point where he might be able to pull that off. And the game this year is in Oxford, in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, on November 12th. It has a chance to be everything that you think it would be. Just does. And it's a game that Ole Miss can absolutely compete what's going on. Jermaine Burton is not Jamison Williams. That's the first step. So the Alabama team that you saw this year with Brian Robinson and Jamison Williams and Bryce Young, that's not going to be the same team playing next year. Now, Alabama has talented receivers that they're going to develop. Who's going to be the guy that develops? And Jahmyr Gibbs at running back is going to be a kind of a playmaker. But he's not Brian Robinson. He's not a murder ball back. And Jermaine Burton is more like John Mechie than he is Jamison Williams. So that makes their team look a little bit different. Now, Bryce Young only threw for 170 yards and had an interception against Ole Miss last year. Now, part of that was that Brian Robinson being able to run for 180 yards and 4 touchdowns, and they just completely played murder ball. Jake Springer didn't play that game, and the defense after Jake Springer got back really came on. Asked Texas A&M about that because they tried to play a little murder ball themselves to poor effect. So know that Alabama's the target game. Know that Alabama is going to be favored between 5 and 8 points, probably in that game. Know that they moved this game to November from its normal spot at the end of September, beginning of October, because this is, to them, replacing the Alabama-LSU game as the consciousness game. The one that they're pointing to. It might be the primetime game on CBS. It's in that position to where it could happen. And this is going to be the game that Lane points to. So much so that the next game in Fayetteville, which has been a house of horrors for Ole Miss, could be problematic. I'm expecting a letdown that game. I've seen it far too many times. When you go up to Fayetteville and actually should win fairly comfortably, you end up dropping that game. If I thought that any game on the schedule was a sure loss, it might be this Arkansas game. Just because of where it's located in the schedule and the historical value of Fayetteville. Now, if the game was in Little Rock, Ole Miss all day. I'm fine with Little Rock. I'm not worried about Little Rock even in the slightest. But Fayetteville, weird things happen. I mean, we gave up a touchdown on a kickoff return in Fayetteville. Just weird stuff happens. And because of this past year, they're going to be out for blood a little bit. And let's see, I'm gonna look at their football schedule just to see who they have before the Ole Miss game as well. Well, they've got LSU right before too, so it's going to be a little bit of a war both ways. And they've got Liberty, man. Liberty's getting around, aren't they? Their schedule is no joke, and they play Missouri State. And I believe Bobby Petrino coaches at Missouri State, so that should be interesting to see as well. But Arkansas has a chance to be pretty good. They'll have revenge on their mind, and everything go back to that game in Oxford last year. I expect some weird stuff to happen because this Ole Miss Arkansas game produces weird stuff. But getting ready for the game 5 days later, the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State, that is the second most important game on the schedule because I do think Lane's going to target the Alabama game first. The game's in Oxford. But Lane will definitely want to go 3-0 in that game. So, I'm not overly worried about Mississippi State. I think that there is a defensive scheme that has been set up to not necessarily shut down Mississippi State, but it requires Mississippi State's defense and kicking game to be absolutely on point to compensate for this offense. And it's so weird talking about the air raid, who in 1999, 1998 was just lighting up scoreboards all over the place. This was the same offense, but they figured out how to stop this. And because of that, Mississippi State in an Egg Bowl is going to require on a 2017 game, 20-14 game, need a situation where Ole Miss's offense doesn't perform or State's defense really stands up. Because State, that's the dirty little secret. You have Mike Leach and everything, but you're a defensive team because teams have figured out what he's doing offensively enough to where it's just a problem. with what he's doing. And they use backs, do whatever they need to do, and they're trying to recruit and build up what's going on. But we'll see what year 3 looks like in Starkville, definitely, when it comes to Mike Leach and the air raid. So there you go. I don't like our chances in Arkansas, but there's nobody on the schedule that Ole Miss can't beat. If anybody looks at the schedule and just goes L, they've got an agenda. Whether that agenda is to temper your expectations so they don't get an email whenever something bad happens, or if they genuinely do not believe what they're seeing, or they don't want to believe it themselves. This agenda is all the same. But know that Ole Miss's offense can beat, or Ole Miss's team can beat anybody on their schedule. Will they? Probably not. This is a young first-year team. We're looking at probably somewhere between 8 and 10 wins in this season. And most of this team will be back next year. So this will be a springboard year on top of everything else. So if Ole Miss was able to win 10 games this year, they'd be thinking playoff for 2023. Something like that. It's just rarefied territory for Ole Miss football, because I don't think people realize how talented this team is. How talented Zach Evans is. How talented Jackson Dart, former Gatorade National Player of the Year. Potentially Deion Smith. Malik Heath over at wide receiver with Braylon Brown and those guys. There are pieces in place. Defensively, we talk all the time about them looking for a 22. It's not just a starting 11 anymore because of play volume. It's a 22. So you see them add so many players at different positions that are going to be able to play a good bit, or at least give you the margin of error if one of them should fail and not develop the way that you think they would. Some beef in the interior line, some speed on the outside. You can go big on the outside. Linebackers, all conference players. A developmental guy at linebacker. And the safeties, big physical box safeties, similar to Jake Springer. You got the ball hawks back in the back. You recruited a Davison Igbenusson, who I think could end up at free safety and be a ball hawk type player. So there's a lot of players on defense that make this team look different than it has before. Just letting you know. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired head coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. We're doing our perspectives thing here with Tom Vanderford. And what about this baseball team? We've run ruled just about everybody. They can't play a full game. What's going on, man?
I don't know, man. I'm enjoying it. I hope it lasts for a long time. Central Florida is 7-1, so I think they'll be our biggest challenge so far this year. So that'll be an exciting series this weekend. I'm impressed by the pitching. I really am. That was my big question. We discussed that earlier, was just how would the pitching be? And I think we're doing pretty good. Of course, now, like I said, I'd like to see us against a little bit more talent, but goodness gracious, I'd much rather be in the position we're in than State right now. I mean, they're just not hitting good. They've got some decent pitching, but they're not hitting good.
Yeah, it's almost like winning a national championship was allowed to go to their head.
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Once you hit the top of the mountain, they're finding out how hard it is to actually stay there.
Oh, exactly. Everybody wants a piece of the champ, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Southern is like going crazy off of last night. It's like y'all beat a 4-loss team.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't beat them last year when they won the national championship. Y'all beat them this year.
Exactly.
But on the same night, I think Southern Miss beat Florida in softball, fast pitch, by the way. So it was
huge.
Yeah, it was a good night for the Mustard Buzzards.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Huge, huge. Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to this weekend? What stands out to you?
I just really like to see. I like kind of how our schedule's wrapping up. As far as the talent of the teams we're playing, and I just want to see some consistency. I want to see some more good pitching. And I want to see a good mix of pitching, and I just want to continue to see the offensive firepower that we've seen from Elko and Graham. Those guys are insane RBI wise already.
Yeah.
So, and just the more I think about it, this may be the best overall team if the pitching comes together that we've had in a long time.
Now, my opinion on this situation is you hear a bunch of people complaining about the number of innings that we didn't get to play because of the run rule thing. And
Right.
these are the same people that at the end of the season would complain about an overtaxed lineup, an overtaxed rotation.
Exactly.
And you either have the break now and save the arms, or the arms are tired at the end. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I love run ruling. Like you said, it's saving arms. And we've used a lot of arms. And I mean, we've, the Elliott kid he really impressed me. I know it was Louisiana Monroe, but he impressed me. He really did. The freshman. So I was talking to a good friend of mine at work today about this too. And, we were just saying, good Lord, just please let it keep going,
Yeah, and I'm not comparing him to Doug. Don't nobody hear that. I'm not comparing him to Doug.
No, yeah.
But I am going to say this is kind of a similar trajectory that Doug was on as a true freshman at Ole Miss. Couple of midweek starts, earned his way onto the weekend, and then kind of took off from there. So if I'm Drew McDaniel or even Jack Washburn, I'm looking over my shoulder because this kid's coming back there balling, just absolutely balling right now.
Yeah, he acts like he's been there before. I mean, nothing phased him, and so you love seeing that. And I don't know, man. Our gloves are good. Our bats are awesome. Taiwan Malone comes in, hadn't played an organized game of baseball in 3 years. Pops won 400 feet plus. Of course he's not going to get to play a lot this year because of a guy named Tim Elko, but yeah.
But he's getting some swings because honestly, you get to the 6th, 7th inning and we're up by 10, 11 runs and you can give work to guys. And like I said, you can't have it both ways. You're either going to be tired at the end of the year or you're going to earn the rest that you have at the beginning of the year. Because I tell people all the time, the one game against Central Florida is not going to matter. But as a whole, if your goal is to make a national seed, as in one of the top 8 seeds, all of these games matter, and every one you lose removes your margin of error.
Exactly. Exactly. And we've got any SEC slate's tough, but I mean, I think our opening home weekend is against Tennessee, right? And they're pretty darn good this year.
No, it's against Auburn.
Oh, it is Auburn?
Yeah,
Okay.
Tennessee's like week 3, but even our SEC slate ramps up because the really hard part of the SEC slate's the second half.
Yeah, and so that's good. That schedule's good, so I like that. Maybe if we are a
Florida,
national team,
no Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so schedule kind of matches up pretty well.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe we'll look out, and if we do get a national seed, that Cohen won't be part of the selection committee this year.
Well, what we need to do, we need to have a regular season that's so successful that it just doesn't matter that he's on it.
Exactly.
That should be the goal. So we're getting ready to start spring practice. I think we're under 3 weeks away from the start of it, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
What are you looking forward to? What are the main storylines for you? What are you looking forward to in spring practice this year as we prepare for fall?
We'll see how the new guys acclimate themselves. I we're counting on a lot of the new guys to be producers and be in the rotation. I want to see how the defensive line looks. I think we've got a chance to do a lot better there than we have in a few years. I want to see how the new linebacking core gels. Of course, also I want to see. We've got a new awesome running back and some new receivers and new quarterback and the tight end. I mean, I want to see it all. I want to see it all. I want to see what they bring to the table. Unfortunately, probably going to be fairly vanilla. They're not going to pull all kinds of stuff out of the hat. They'll keep that for next year, I assume. But yeah, I'll be at the spring game, and I'll follow it as much as I can. But yeah, I think the new guys mostly just seeing how they fill the holes that all those people that left those holes. And I want to see a good rush defensive end pop out of the mix, and some good receivers. I'm kind of looking forward to the Knox kid, man. I mean, a lot of people aren't talking about him, but he was a superstar, and he sat out last year. Yeah, and people are forgetting him when they're talking about transfer receivers. I mean, he's the real deal. I think we're going to be blessed at the slot, and of course now we've got a tight end that can stretch the field as well. So,
yeah, the offense can reach its total self, because at its core, between the tight end and the slot receiver, it's designed to torture linebackers. Linebackers can't be right. Yep. That's this whole offense. And if you have a weakness at tight end or in the slot receiver to where you can't do what you normally would, it limits what you can do. So the triangle between those and the running back are so huge in this offense. So 2 or 3 spots left for the transfer portal after spring. Where do you think Ole Miss goes?
God, I hope we get a kicker. Nothing against Nation. He's a good kid. I would like to get like a senior transfer, somebody that's got an extra COVID year, from a small college. Who cares? There are guys like that in the NFL, all over the NFL. Kickers from small colleges. I think a kicker. I would love to get the kid from LSU, the receiver. Okay. And then probably, to be honest with you, the best player we could get, regardless of position.
That sounds familiar.
Yep. Yeah. It's about the same thing you said a while back. Yeah. But yeah, I really, really wouldn't hurt my feelings if we got another lineman. I know that, we've got tons of linemen, but it really wouldn't hurt my feelings if we had another one. I think the key to the offense this year is our offensive line's going to have to protect Jackson Dart better than they protected Matt Corral, or Luke Altmaier, whoever it be.
Yeah, saved yourself. I like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm looking forward to that battle as well too, and may the best man win.
Yeah, and it's important for people. You hear the number 4. I think the number 4 includes Jack Abraham, who's walking on, so he will not count towards the initial scholarship limit. So we're not really necessarily going. So he would be like the 4th person that's signed in the summer. There's also a slight rumor at FAU. One of the receivers got in trouble and came and walked on. He functioned as a walk-on the new year. There's a chance, I think, that they could go get somebody like Brew McCoy, talk him in from that situation, and let him play his way into a scholarship. And that would be outside of the 32 initials that they can sign. So look for that as well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm just I'm telling you, I'm just so much excited. If this would have been 4 years ago, before transfer portals and immediate eligibility, it would have it'd be a totally different story we'd be talking about now. But we've got a chance to be really good in 2022.
Yeah, I think this is the most talented team Ole Miss has fielded.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean,
in the
Zach
modern
Evans,
era, I think you're right. Yeah.
other than maybe Laramie Tunsil, Zach Evans is the most talented player ever to sign here. I don't think.
that.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how good this kid is. And then Jackson Dart is a Gatorade National Player of the Year. We've never signed one of those at Ole Miss. And if you go and get, you have Malik Heath coming in. Yeah, he's a 4-star receiver. You got Deion Smith potentially coming in, 4-star. Michael Trigg, 4-star. I think we looked, it's like 32 or 33 4-stars out of high school on Ole Miss's roster. This is an 85-man scholarships. So it's almost half of the roster are 4-stars.
Yep. And it's just like Jimmy Johnson used to say, it's not the X's and O's, man. It's the Jimmys and the Joes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And they've built a system to withstand, let's say, volatility. It's not like football it was back in the day where you need to build a system and the quarterback needs to be in your system for 3 years, like Cutcliffe was with Eli. It's not like that anymore. It's very quick twitch. It's honestly simple football, what they do. But it's supposed to be able to withstand players coming in and leaving and coaches coming in and leaving. And your system can kind of withstand that. And that is what Kiffin is doing. And some people are having problems understanding that because they're trying to fit football into the old thinking, and that just doesn't work with Lane Kiffin.
Exactly. Well, all you got to do is look at the GOAT. He does the same thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kiffin learned from the GOAT, from Saban, and he's building everything at Ole Miss on that blueprint, I think.
Well, and also like this, if Pete Carroll was a modern college football coach, if the 2003 Pete Carroll plopped into 2022, he would dominate this transfer portal like nobody would ever see. And that is the Lane Kiffin model. There's so much of Pete Carroll in what he does.
I agree. And Pete Carroll's a dang good coach.
Mm. Yeah. It really is. Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Next week, we will talk a little bit about the UCF series that is going to happen this weekend. Now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft with Ron Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker. They bring you the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis from college football prospects and NFL front offices. With the Combine right now, they probably a pretty good listen. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Tom, thank you so much for joining us this week. I can't wait till next week, man.
Yeah, me neither, man. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.